Welcome back. Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick could name a temporary replacement for the late Senator Ted Kennedy as early as tomorrow. The Massachusetts Senate approved a bill just a short time ago that would allow the governor to name a successor. The House voted on the bill last week. Voters will choose a permanent replacement, a special election happening January 19th. And welcome back to the big picture, and that will certainly be good news for the White House.
That's right. The Obama administration was, of course, pushing the Massachusetts legislature to find a replacement for Kennedy so Democrats would once again have 60 votes in the Senate. But is the White House taking too big a role in these state races? Are they meddling? Well, that's the topic of today's face-off. This isn't the first state race that the White House is getting involved in. There's also Colorado, Illinois, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. And the White House says they're going to continue to get involved heading into the 2010, midterm elections. This involvement appears to be a tactic of White House Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel. He helped the Democrats win the House 3 years ago as chairman of the Congressional Campaign Committee. And this isn't the first White House to get involved in state races. Karl Rove, former President George W. Bush's chief political advisor, was also involved in state races to make sure that Republicans had strong candidates. Well, James Boyce is a Democratic strategist and Brad Blakeman is a Republican. All right, Brad, what's wrong with the White House weighing in and trying to get the best candidate to run in these races?
Nothing wrong with it at all, but it's the perception of how they're doing it. Either you can do it with a hammer or you can do it with a glove. And I think the White House is better suited to using the glove than the hammer, but that's not suited for Rahm Emanuel. After all, we didn't give him the nickname Rambo. It's his own people who did it. So it's the manner in which you do it, but it's certainly in the president's interest to have it done.
James, let me ask you about what's going on in New York, because that's kind of developing into a mess with the White House urging President Obama, New York Governor David Patterson, not to run. Let me just play what President Bill Clinton said about the whole thing this morning on the Today Show.
He's not in good shape now. But I will say this about David Patterson. He is a good man. I think that he will do, in the end, what he believes is best for New York.
So is this a gentle push, or is this turning into a shove?
I think it's more than a push right now. It's definitely a full two-handed shove in the back. And I suspect what you're seeing coming out this week is not the first conversation between the White House and Governor Patterson. This strikes me as something, I think Brad would probably agree, that's down the line a few miles in the conversation. So,
well, especially given that this is the sitting governor.
Oh, absolutely. But, you know, the numbers are terrible for Governor Patterson. There are other races in New York State that the White House is concerned about. So I think what you're seeing come out public is probably, you know, the conclusion of a lot of private conversations that maybe Governor Patterson was given the choice and hasn't taken the choice. And to use Brad's expression, now the hammer's come out.
But James, didn't President Obama get elected as someone who's going to change the way politics? I mean, does this undercut his appeal with voters that are tired of partisan politics if he's seen as getting involved in these state and local races, like going with Arlen Specter over Congressman Joe Sestak, for instance, in Pennsylvania?
Well, I think there's the danger of that. I think you have to look at each specific race. I think in Pennsylvania, he's fulfilling a promise that was made to Senator Specter when Senator Specter changed parties. Now, in that instance, I'm good friends with Joe Sestak. I strongly support Joe Sestak, and I'm sure the White House will let me have my opinion on that. But I think that it's not...
So are you mad that the president's supporting Senator Specter?
No, I'm not mad at all, but it wouldn't change my opinion to help Joe Sestak and work for him in Pennsylvania. So I'm not working for him, but I would, and I'd happily help him. I've known Joe for a while. So I think it is, to Brad's point, it is correct that the White House come into these races, try to get the best team they can. There's a lot of critical races in 2010. I think Rahm Emanuel may be, you know, flashing back to 1994 when in his first term President Clinton kind of took a step back at the midterm elections.
Karl Rove, of course, is now weighing in. Brad saying that the way the White House handled the situation in New York was a little ham-handed. But Karl was known also, and maybe in some cases he didn't leave his fingerprints, but he was doing a lot of meddling in these races, wasn't he?
Well, I would differ with the word meddling, but what I would say is influencing, absolutely. But the question is your fingerprints and being too forward and turning off the voters in the states you're trying to affect. For instance, you just mentioned a great point, Nora, and that is the president is getting involved in primaries. That's unheard of.
In these states, when the president runs for re-election, he needs strong elected Democratic officials, right?
He does, yeah. But when presidents start getting involved in primary races and picking and choosing candidates and taking away that which the voters have a right to say who their Democratic choice is going to be, I think that could backfire in some instances. The voters don't want to be told who to vote for in a primary situation.
All right, James, Boyce, and Brad Blakeman, great to see both of you. And Tamron, there's no doubt this White House gets it. They're going to probably continue to be involved and weigh in on who they think's the best candidate.
And I think what also people get is that this is not the first administration to do this. As you've pointed out, Karl Rove in the previous administration is just one example. So I think voters get that as well, Nora.
All right, Tamron, up next.